What's up, guys? Welcome to My Yourself. For today's video, what we're going to cover is something that I've got to give props to Doyle and the Blue Bike. So that's Lucille over there. His channel, it's Blue Bike and Doyle. Check his channel out. He's got a bunch of great content on there. But one of his videos, he covered some LED lights that I had been looking for. And he shows the installation of it. And you know what? Quite frankly, I had to get them. I'd been waiting for them, so I really appreciate Doyle and his efforts. So, like I said, check out his channel. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below, and we'll take a minute to take a look at what these LEDs are. Okay, so if you know me, if you watch my content, I like having visibility. I'm not big on reflectors. I love LEDs. I like things that indicate stuff, right? So reflectors are great to let you know that there's a presence of some sort, right? So maybe it's just you could be parked, right? But what they don't do is they don't tell you, or they don't give anybody any type of intention. So that's what I love about LED lighting, is especially for stuff like on the forks or on the saddlebags. I want something to tell another driver that I'm turning, I'm braking, I'm whatever, right? So these LEDs are going to replace the saddlebag latch reflectors. So we're going to need to pull these off and install these LEDs here. Now, I'll also add in the link for these. These are, again, the lower grade LEDs. And from what I saw in Doyle's video, they look great. I have no problem with them. If you want, I mean, all of the other like big name LED companies, they make them as well. You will pay a premium. They're probably better quality. And yeah, so I mean, choice is yours. Again, I'm not knocking them and I'm not knocking these guys. Unless they fail, then I'm going to tell you that they fail, right? I mean, it is what it is. And that's why I have the review Wednesdays, because I want to put some time on them to show whether or not the product that we installed is worthwhile. So I recommend to you, if you see one of my videos and you're like, I want to do that same thing, you see the process, you're all for it, hang out a little bit if you can. I mean, I get if you're excited and you want to go do it, then I'd say do it. But if you can wait until that review Wednesday comes up, then you get an opportunity to see, after I put some time on it, whether or not they hold up to the test, right? And you get a true performance of the actual product versus reading, you know, a 4-star whatever on Amazon or wherever. You're going to see real time, and I'll show you if it fails. I'll show you the failure of it. You saw what happened to my Monroe shocks not that long ago. So in order to get these on, they're held on by some adhesive 3M tape, that red tape that everybody knows about. But what we're going to have to do is first remove these. And the way we remove these is by using heat to kind of help you know, get that adhesive this is held on with nice and gooey, and then we'll be able to pull this back. And then I'm sure some of that's going to be left behind, so we'll have to take some goof off or WD-40, whatever you like to use, to get that adhesive off. Once we get that off, then we're going to have to look at cleaning it up, drilling a hole, because that has a wire, and routing it through the bag. So we'll have to figure out kind of where we're going to route it, and whether or not we'll need to drill another hole. What I will look at doing also, just to kind of help with the water seal, is adding grommets to any holes that I make, so that way, again, it helps keep the moisture out. And I'll show you the grommet kit that I got. It's a great little kit, pretty cheap, and you can get it at Harbor Freight. So let's get the tools together and start working on this. Okay, so we're going to use basically 2 tools to get this thing off. The first one is going to be a heat gun, and I'm not using any of the tips on the heat gun because I don't want to micro focus the air onto any one particular area. And when you're using a heat gun, I'd say be cautious, be careful. These do get very, very hot, and you don't want to ruin your paint either, because you're going to be heating up the surface. So just keep that in mind. Don't get like super close to it or anything like that. You're just trying to warm this thing up. If you live in Arizona or something like that, let it sit out in the sun, you probably get the same results. The other thing you can use is a hair dryer. That one's not going to get as hot as this, which is kind of a good thing, right? You don't have as much risk. So take your time, be cautious, and use the lower setting. Don't use that higher setting. So a heat gun. The other thing we're going to use is a panel popping kit. I feel like a name dropper today. So this is a kit that I saw on Professional Monkeys videos, and he recommended it. I had one of the many tools that's in here, and I can tell you from my years of aircraft maintenance experience, one of the things we used very often were plastic scrapers, because you don't want to damage, you know, some of the surfaces there. So this is fantastic because it allows you to pry behind things without damaging the paint or you know, doing stuff like that. Not to say you can't. If you try hard enough, you can almost accomplish anything, but this helps minimize those opportunities, right? So let's go ahead and start heating up that reflector, and then we'll get one of these panel poppers and start, you know, wiggling it out, trying to get it out. All right, so once you kind of warm it up, and you can kind of feel it to the touch. It shouldn't be scorching hot, but you want to take one of your tools here and just start trying to pry it away from it. Again, you know, be careful with your stuff. Like, you don't want to ruin your saddlebag latch or anything like that. So just, again, you kind of repeat the process over and over. Eventually that tape that's holding this on is going to give way, and you'll be able to pull it off. So I'm going to keep doing the exact same thing, warming it up, trying to peel it off, warming it up, trying to peel it off. And once I get to the point where it starts to pull away, I'll bring it back. All right, so this thing's kind of fussing a little bit. It's not coming off as easy. I've got it relatively warm. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use a pick so I can get a little bit more gription on this. Now, there's two ways you can do this. One is you can drill a small hole to stick your pick in, and then you can wedge it against itself to pull it out. The other thing is I'm using a guitar pick to put in between the painted surface and this reflector, so that way my pick doesn't put any real, you know, doesn't put any scratches in my painted surface. That's, you know, my biggest concern. Not so much, I'm not putting a ton of pressure on it, and what I'm just trying to do is, again, get it kind of worked where it lets this corner release, and then I can pull it out. So I think because it's still being pretty stubborn, I'm probably going to try doing the drilled hole method and see if I can get any traction that way. It's just, yeah, this one's being relatively difficult for whatever reason. Yeah, it's been a toughie. So I'm gonna get a little hole drilled, and that'll allow me to stick my pick in there to kind of just pull it away. It'll probably break off, but that's okay. I can get in behind it. I'm not going to reuse these anyways. I've already tested out my new ones to make sure that they work, so that way in the event they do break, I'm not left with, you know, non-functioning lights or something like that. So make sure you test your stuff before you do that kind of thing. Yeah, I got it pulled away. So like I said, I drilled a small hole, and I used a kind of this squirrely pick to get in here, get in the hole, and kind of give it some leverage. And now I'm able to get my plastic doodad in there, and now I can just slowly work it back, right? You don't want to jack it up too quick because it'll break the reflector and tear the tape. So I'm trying to pull as much tape away from this as possible so it's less cleanup. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now, and hopefully just take your time with it. You know, understand, no matter what, there'll probably be, you know, 99% of the time some of that adhesive left over, so it's never going to be perfect, but if you can take as much off of it as possible with the reflector, that's kind of ideal, right? So you just kind of keep working it, and yeah. But so I used, like I said, a little small drill, and when you drill into this, don't drill all the way through your saddlebag. You want to slowly drill, because you'll feel it break through this little reflective glass layer, and behind it is the backing, right? So you just want to get first past that little layer, so just take it easy. And the minute you feel it kind of like give you like a little dunk, like a little, you just feel it kind of drop through, then you know you've made it to the point where you want. And then you're just gonna go ahead and work it from there. So all right, so here we go. Now I got almost none of the tape to come off with this, so that means I got a lot more legwork to do here. That's okay, because like I said, we could just use some WD-40, use a plastic scraper of sorts to kind of get this off, and once you got it nice and cleaned up, then you can work on installing the new insert. All right, so I've got that adhesive off. What I need to do now is I'm going to put some rubbing alcohol in there to make sure I clean that up, and again, make it a nice clean dry surface, nothing oily behind it, and that way I get the best adhesion from this tape. Now this goes in a particular way. This is higher than this, so you want to make sure your wires are to the back, and what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to drill a hole through this in order to get it to go through and on the other side of the bag. Now on the one-touch system, let me see if I can get you up here, this doesn't, it's not attached to the bag. So the question that I'm going to look at is, before I go through the bag all the way, is do I have to, or can I, as soon as I get it here, route it straight up along over the lid and then come on the back side? I don't know. I got to see first. So first I'm going to drill that first hole and see how things work out. And the way I'm going to determine how big of a hole I need is I've got a little plastic gauge that tells me circle size, and I'm going to use the smallest one that will allow me to fit this head through it, and that'll be the hole that I use to drill in there. So it's about all the way to the back there. So I'm going to also take a look and mark off where I need this hole to be drilled. You almost, I mean, it's like right at the end, so you almost can't do it wrong, especially because of the diameter of this. So let me get this cleaned up. I'll size up the hole and we'll drill it. So here's the little plastic doodad I was telling you about. I don't even remember where I got this from. It's just a drill gauge. So what's nice is each hole has a measurement next to it, so you can just kind of sit there. Now, there guys that are much more experienced, they can just look at it and tell you, oh, you're going to need, I don't know, 3/8 hole, whatever it is. So I like to just, really ensure. So like looking at 3/8 in this particular case, it doesn't fit. 25/64 is an extremely tight fit. So the next one up would be this 13/32. So I got to look at what drill I actually have, because I might not have one of these two drills. And if that's the case, then I'll have to go to the next bigger one, right? So I want to minimize, again, I don't want to over drill, but I also don't want to under drill, because that just means I got to go back and do it again. So let me see what I've got and drill the hole. All right, so we've got this insert inside. I've got the tape done. So now all I need to do is route the wire. So it's gonna come in, and I'm gonna bring it kind of around here. So I'm gonna use some anchors, some safety, what the heck? Some zip tie anchors to go around the edge here. And what I'm gonna do is just do a little notch kind of here, just enough for the wire to escape out, and then it'll run along with the other LED wire to there, right? So this will keep it out of my way. And then by notching it, what this will do is, because there's a little bit of an overhang from the lid, is it'll help, actually probably better than the grommet would, keep any water from getting in there. So that's the kind of strategy I'm going to use. So let me get the anchors in place and get this notch cut. All right, so I've got the wires all through on this one. So just kind of going up here around with the anchors. I cut the little notch here. I used a Dremel just to kind of grind that down a little bit. Here's my connector. So this is the connector for the other end right here. and this will go to the power that is underneath the seat. So I'll finish routing that there. So essentially, close it. I don't have anything binding, so that's good. And yeah, so when we turn it on, there we go. Now we've got our LED on the side. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna get the other side done really quick now that I know what process I'm gonna use, and I'll bring you guys back so you can see them installed and what the function. That's what we're working with now. So you got that side. Now they're only single color. They only do red. The lens is smoked when they're off. But to give you perspective of what these things do is they act as a brake light. So if you squeeze your brake, they light up along with all your other lights. They're also a turn signal. So depending on what indicator you have turned on, they'll flash. And then if, of course, you turn on your hazards, they're going to flash as hazards as well. So let's take a look at that. You see it's flashing that way. Flashing, flashing, flashing. And so these all wire into a another unit here. So this is my second unit. This is the first one. So this does the saddlebag blade LEDs. That's these ones here. And so there was an open connector. I plugged into that open connector, and the kit now provides with another one. So I guess if you had another thing to put in, maybe if you did the like the Cadillac style light fascia on top of it, or if you did the little antenna plug lights, because they sell those as well. They go in place of these little plugs here. You can add those in, but ultimately that's it. So all I need to do is kind of put my seat back on, and I'm good to go. Everything's all routed through, done deal, and super excited. I think they look great. I'm really happy with how they came out. I got to do some wiping down now because of the fingerprints and all that stuff, but it's supposed to rain here anyways. I'm not going to worry too much about that. But all in all, like I said, happy with the output. So we'll have to see how these things, stand the test of time. I'm hoping they do great. Again, a big, huge thank you to the Blue Bike and Doyle channel. So Doyle, thanks again for showing these and giving me the opportunity to find them, so that way I can install them as well. I think they'll do great, and I'll be interested to see how they do in the future here. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. If you like the content, become a subscriber. We are really looking forward to a lot of people joining the community. The channel is growing. I'm super excited. We're a little over 500 subscribers now. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. Like, we're going to learn so much more together. We have a whole lot of new things going on in 2023. So I'm super excited about this all the way around. And so yeah, so until the next video, I hope to see you in the wind, and make sure you hit that notification bell. Until then, see ya.